if you can set up processes in order to gain feedback from your sales alone, you'll improve your marketing strategy because that will help you get more qualified leads if you better understand what's working or what are objections and roadblocks in your sales process.
Attention marketers and entrepreneurs, this is Valuetising, the place where we talk about scaling brands worth promoting. If you're a mission-driven entrepreneur obsessed with creating, scaling, and exiting multi-million-dollar brands, this is for you. My name is Santiago Phoenix, and I am a business growth consultant, online marketer, and investor. I have helped more than 100 7- and 8-figure founders increase profits, claim their time back, and transform the world. Now it's your turn. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to Valuetising. My guest today is Jeremy Kanne, a Fractional Chief Marketing Officer who partners with 1 million plus B2B professional services companies and helps them create predictable growth through marketing and sales alignment. Jeremy has a unique blend of creativity, strategy, leadership skills, and after working with him for more than a year, I can say that he's also an awesome human being. Jeremy, thanks and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Santiago. It's been great working with you, and I'm excited to do a podcast with you.
Yeah, I'm also very excited because I know you have a lot of experience in B2B companies, first by having your own company and now helping other companies grow. And I wanted to start it there. What do you see are the main differences between like marketing a consumer product to, let's say, a consulting offer? I know you work with a lot of consulting firms.
Yeah. So the big difference between B2B and B2C is really the length of the sales cycle, sales and marketing cycle. There's a lot more that needs to be done for educating on value for a service compared to a product. Or really if it's a high ticket, costly product, same sort of deal. If someone has to spend a lot of money, they want to consider it a lot. And that length of time for considering is really the biggest challenge for B2B marketing. All about helping people get access to the right information for that consideration period. Of course, there's how do you reach them in the first place? But the hard part is keeping them, along for the ride to make sure that they understand or that you help them understand what you can bring to the table.
What are some ways that we can do that?
Yeah, so you want to focus on, in terms of getting new people into your ecosystem, it's all about providing value at the forefront. And in order to do that, you have to understand who you are trying to market to. So doing the market research at the beginning is paramount. If you don't yet understand who your target market is specifically, or your target markets really more realistically, who are all the types of people that you're trying to market to? Where do they congregate? Where do they go for information or go for entertainment? That will help shape not only where you want to put your content, and I'll get to that in a second, but also what's important to them. Knowing them is the first step to being able to attract them. So if you do spend the time to really understand who you're trying to market to, and really that's so important. And it's not like that's a unknown thing. We, as CMOs and myself included, we have processes on how you can go through a process to understand how to segment your markets and understand them.
Yeah.
And that's just part of what I think a fractional CMO does well compared to a marketing agency.
Okay, so first step, understand who they are. What will be next?
Right. So then you need to figure out from what's important to them, what can you give them? You really want to be able to give them either time or some sort of thing that is important to them, valuable to them. If that's just education about how you can help them, that's great. But make sure that it's something that is, um, you would ideally charge for if you could, or would be able to. But you want to give it away for free to your target market to make sure that they feel valued by being entered into your ecosystem. From there, you then get to nurture them and make sure you stay in touch and have conversations with them.
What I've seen is that selling, for example, consulting, the challenge can be that it's very relationship based.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do in those cases if you want to scale a company? Because yeah, it's one thing is like a one person consulting agency, but if it's a big consulting company, how can you do that in a way that's not reliant only on the founder, for example, and his or her
Right.
relationships?
Yeah, I see this as, why does networking work? Why does interpersonal relationships work so well, especially when it comes to referring business and business coming from referred business? It's a emotional connection. You can tell a lot more about a you can earn your trust by just connecting with someone interpersonally. Where that falls flat in terms of creating a strategy is that it's still time, it's labor that you put in. So let's say that you have a founder that is really good at drumming up business. They do it by creating relationships and nurturing those relationships, and they get referred business. And you want to scale that up. Really, what that takes is creating a strategy of who you need to network with. So identifying who your best referral type partners are. What I call them are strategic referral partners. And this is different than just regular networking, where you would just go to any old network event and hope to meet people that are going to refer you business. It's more about, very similarly, to identifying your target market. So much like your target market, who you're trying to sell to, if you can think about and do an exercise around either tracking and looking at who you've gotten referred business from and creating target markets essentially around that type of person. And for me, I love to meet fractional COO. And why do they potentially refer business to me as a fractional CMO is the same reason why I potentially refer business to them as a COO. They're in operations, so they're helping a business identify what are the gaps in processes and roadblocks to how the organization grows. I have the same sort of process driven approach, but within marketing. So typically when I'm working with a company, I'm also seeing, how good or bad their operations are. And they might sometimes need a fractional COO to help them essentially create better standardized processes, reporting for the whole business, how departments interact with each other and how efficient they are. They, in the same way, might identify that while they're working through operations, they might see, a lack or gaps or roadblock in marketing operations. So this is a good example of a symbiotic strategic referral partner relationship. We both benefit from referring to each other. It doesn't have to be symbiotic. It doesn't have to be both ways. It just at least has to be them seeing an upside to referring their potential clients to you or their network to you. They at least have to see the problems that you are helping solve.
Interesting.
So that we're creating a triangulation between you and your potential next client. The triangle, the third part being your strategic referral partner.
So the challenge is kind of doing that on an organization
wide level, not just depending on the founder.
Right, right. So if you created, a strategy for someone other than the founder to follow, in this case, I'll just use myself as an example since I know it the best. I could, if I'm training up another fractional CMO under me, give them guidelines on what type of business professionals to connect with, what to talk about in terms of how to understand each other. But really, just you know, go connect with fractional COOs, make friends in the world of fractional COOs, and find who you like, and see what strategic partnerships can come out of that. If that was alone, a strategy set in place for networking, that would work much better than just general networking. Go out, go to a networking event, and hope and pray. And that's not a strategy. A strategy is understanding, what the steps are along the way, and rinse, repeat, and iterate. So that's not the whole strategy. That is understanding your targeting, who to talk to, and then going out and talking to them. You also still need to have follow up if you're going to build a relationship with them. So having either topics to relate on to create a personal relationship with them, and a cadence to do that. How often are you touching base? What's right for you? What's right for your referral partner? And then what are things that you can create, much like sales enablement and marketing materials, to show and educate about your value to them? It's important not just to talk about it in your networking meetings, but to be able to show and educate through materials that you can hand off.
Yeah, I know you use a lot of strategies because we have worked together on SEO, and yeah, I know it goes way more than this, but this is super. It's fascinating to me. I was recently reading the book The Ultimate Sales Machine, where Chet Holmes talks about the Dream 100 strategy. Do you subscribe to that strategy? Have you ever used it?
Oh, I'm not familiar with it actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I what I found interesting was that I'm used more to mass marketing, so running ads, funnels, all those things. But he said for B2B, what I like to do is just create a list of 100 perfect target companies that you want to work with, and go above and beyond for them. Like, it's not doing ads or anything like that. It's actually like sending handwritten notes, direct mail, things like that, network, in-person networking. So it's kind of like what you're saying, like being very targeted with and intentional with your client acquisition strategy.
Yeah, this gets into a bit more of understanding what the business strategy is. And this is honestly a good amount of work that I do with my clients. If they only, I want to help set what success means like in marketing. So that strategy of going after 100 companies works great if, say, you only really need to win 10 of them, or if winning all 100 of them is feasible. I don't know how big these companies are, but if we're imagining that these 100 companies that you're going after are going to be difficult to win, either for some sales reason or objection or another, maybe they're already working with another company and you need to, effectively replace that competitor. Some of these you're not going to win. But if you set the expectation of, if you have an understanding of what success means for you, and that success is winning 15 of these clients, well, sure, go set 100, get that 15, and then try to go past that. But let's take into account that maybe we need to go after thousands.
Yes.
It really depends on what the business strategy is. How many customers do we need to acquire in a certain time frame, a year, and set that make it happen, and then iterate on the process to get your long-term growth. Does that make sense about like trying to set your strategy based off of your business goals and understanding what those business goals are first?
Yes, yes, totally. I think he was speaking like in terms of corporate sales that
Oh, sure.
like Fortune 500 companies, but of course, not everybody wants. Yeah, it all depends on each scenario. And in your experience, I wanted to ask you, what are the like some common mistakes or not mistakes? What are some common points that you see businesses get stuck with when they want to scale, for example, from 7 to 8 figures?
So I would say the two biggest things that I've identified as gaps in marketing process for the type of people that I get to work with is doing enough foundational strategy work. This is a missed opportunity number one. And this is getting into some of the things that I talked about before about identifying your target market in a very specific way and really understanding them. That is a part of what I would call foundational strategy. The idea of a foundational strategy is to create strategy documentation and really just knowledge about your marketing strategy written down, agreed upon, and hashed out with your leadership team. What you want to do is try and create this base of knowledge and how you're going to go to market as a starting point, essentially. So things like researching your target customer, creating a customer acquisition plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to outline a plan and the reason why it works. You have to think about what your marketing tactics and budget are going to be as a part of this marketing strategy. You're going to want to have brand positioning set. This is, how are you effectively competing in the marketplace?
Right.
And you would also, I think, agree that in order to know how you compete, you have to understand what is going on in the market that you're competing in. So doing a competitive analysis or analysis of your competitors to understand how to pick your positioning. These are all parts of what I would call your foundational strategy. So you work on this, you set this base of knowledge that looks and feels right, makes sense, and then you go to market and you start testing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads into the second missed opportunity of companies of the size that I work with, and that's properly iterating. I think we all agree that if you had the opportunity to improve something, you would. The struggle in marketing, I think, is proper data collection and getting feedback. You want to get feedback from two major areas for your marketing strategy: your sales and your customers, your sales conversations and your customer service. If you can set up processes in order to gain feedback from your sales alone, you'll improve your marketing strategy. If you're listening, if you're asking questions and asking the right questions, because that will help you get more qualified leads if you better understand what's working or what are objections and roadblocks in your sales process. If you can feed that information back into your marketing,
Right.
that is effectively iterating, at least on one side, to improve your marketing strategy. And a lot of people just don't connect these two. They don't align sales and marketing very well. They're not, or there might be fiefdoms where people within sales really want sales to succeed. People in marketing really want marketing to succeed, but not necessarily together. This is
Yeah.
a,
They
this is
even
a bridge that
they're separated. Like a lot of the sales department are like, no, we're not getting enough leads, qualified leads from marketing. And marketing is like the salespeople cannot close.
right. And the solution here is just talking to each other, in essence. But structuring that conversation in order to learn and to be able to feed that information, valuable information back into the strategy. I think about it from a marketing sense. It can also improve sales, of course, but my responsibility as a fractional CMO is to interface and create these bridges between sales and marketing to improve marketing. And you can apply the same sort of lesson to customer feedback. You can learn more about your target market by actively listening to your market that you're already serving. So much in the same way, if you talk to much the same way as talking to sales, if you start talking to your customers and asking the right questions, getting the answers to the right questions, and then feeding that back into your marketing process, your marketing strategy is going to improve, because you're going to find through this essentially empirical data about what is valuable and what is competitive. You really don't want to go too long off of what you just think is competitive. You want to let people that are buying from you tell you what is valuable and competitive. What's different about you? What do you like? Why did you choose to buy? Why are you still with us? Essentially, there's better and more specific questions depending on the service at hand, but that's the basic idea.
So is that why you stress so much the alignment between marketing and sales?
Yes. Yeah. And that is something that has clear studies done about it in terms of the upside and downside of aligning marketing and sales to not. I think it was like, I have to pull up the stats again, but if you could allow me some imperfect data, there's studies that show that like if you align marketing and sales, you get between like a 10 or 13% improvement in revenue. Whereas if you don't align them, it's something a 3 to 7% decline.
Yeah.
So it's really important because you've got stakes on the table in terms of the upside. And if you have inaction, you have a clear downside, loss in revenue.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Like some people even suggest putting the two departments together.
Sure. I think if you had the right structure, it would still work. But sales and marketing have very different functions and very different compensation structures. So you would still want the labor to be very specialized. But very similarly, companies have been getting fractional chief revenue officers, and they are essentially someone that sits atop both sales and marketing to help focus on revenue as an idea and how both parts of the organization, sales and marketing, feed into that.
If you're a business owner looking to scale your company in a way that doesn't add more stress and overwhelm to your plate, I have something that will be great for you. Look, you may have tried a lot of courses, group coaching programs, and masterminds. The problem is that none of these options give you a customized plan that makes sense for your unique situation, your strengths, your team capabilities, and that really pinpoints what is the best opportunity for you right now in order to get to that next level of revenue, freedom, and impact. So, if you want to get started with a plan like that, go to myplantoscale.com and grab my one-page scaling plan. It will bring clarity about what do you really want to get out of your business and how you can get it in the fastest, simplest, and most efficient way possible. Go to myplantoscale.com to grab it today. Now, back to the show.
From the viewpoint of founders, most of them, of course, they want more revenue, more sales. But in your experience, what are they personally looking for whenever they hire a fractional CMO? or a CMO in general?
What are they looking for?
Yes, what prompts them to look for this type of help? What makes them realize like I need someone, a fractional CMO?
Yeah, that's a good question. From what I've seen, I work with, and I work with companies that are a little bit farther along than a startup, but the same thing can happen in a startup. Um, Usually, the pain point that I'm observing is they've had a chance to work with multiple marketing agencies, and it's been unfruitful compared to the investment that they made and the returns that they want to get. This is a symptom, I would say, of marketing agencies often overpromising and under-delivering. They sell, the idea of generating more leads. They have a process that's pretty regimented. They're good at doing that process. They're good at executing a very defined process of something: SEO, writing articles, um, designing websites, developing websites. It's a part of the puzzle. And this can seem very attractive from a CEO or founder's perspective in that it feels like it's going to solve the bigger problem. How do I get my marketing strategy to work at all for one, and work for a long time predictably is the big question in my mind. These are the big questions that I help solve. And the feeling that one simple marketing process could solve that bigger problem is what I think really is attractive
Yes.
to a lot of CEOs and founders, especially ones that don't yet have a lot of experience in marketing, don't yet know all the component parts of where the investment could go and why. So they get sold on, oh, well, I don't have to do a big foundational strategy. I can just do this thing. I could just do SEO. And, it might even work for a time. But at some point, it's going to be less advantageous. Either they're going to get less leads off of it, or it's going to be more expensive per lead than what they want. Or maybe even worse, the message that was working at some point stops working. You stop getting resonance, or you stop being aligned with your target market because you don't have this feedback loop going. You're not changing based off of, the marketplace. So they go through a process of working with agencies, multiple maybe, and being disappointed. But they don't know exactly what's wrong. Why is this not working? Why do I have to keep reinventing my marketing every 6 months, a year, maybe even faster, depending on how impatient the founder or CEO is? And that's where a fractional CMO can make a lot of sense. I come in typically to what I would call haphazard marketing. You're working with an agency, you're working for another agency, you're just trying things. You're getting attracted to something that feels like it's going to work. It makes sense at the time, but once you get into it, it doesn't work as well as you want, but you don't know why.
It's like disjointed.
Exactly. So I come in, or that's when a fractional CMO makes sense, I think, to a founder, is I need to figure out why these disjointed acts of marketing aren't working as well as I want them to. And more often than not, it's because they're missing that foundational strategy piece, that understanding of what and how they're competing in the marketplace.
So the things that were working are stop working or are not working well anymore, and they kind of realize what got me here won't get me to the next level.
Yeah, or even worse, they may have never worked. They keep trying and it doesn't get them nearly enough results as they want.
Yeah, for me, it's crazy to see some, for example, like consulting companies who are at the seven-figure mark and they have almost no marketing. It's all referral based. It's crazy to me.
And that is not a bad idea. It just needs to be not a bad idea in and of itself, using networking as a tool. But if you want to scale, if you want repeatable results, you need a process and a strategy. And you need to have that outlined so that, regardless of who's working the strategy, they understand how it's going to work and what the goals are, what the expected results are going to be.
Very interesting. I want to. I was very curious about what made you become a fractional CMO, because I know you have a background in engineering, I think, and but also in creativity. So it's like an interesting blend, like a very logical mind, but also you have the creative side. What made you decide to become fractional CMO?
Yeah, thanks. So for those who don't know me, I used to be a civil engineer for 6 years. Um, Even passed the professional engineering exam, could have been very successful in that career. Um, I also, at the same time, was very creative. Um, I did a lot of performance. I did comedy improv. I did theatrical productions, both writing, acting, and also producing. And I really loved a lot of parts of both of these aspects of my life. Um, but I wanted to do something professionally that had some creativity in it. I found that I really enjoyed problem solving and analytical thinking in engineering, but it got boring. And marketing seemed to be this fusing of the two. I could do creative ideas like work on a website or work on a video and use my engineering sensibilities to figure out the best fit solution, not the most shiny and not the most bargain basement. I was all about finding middle of the road best fit solutions for corporate creative strategy. And so I was working on websites, I was working on videos, I was copywriting, and running Smart Yeti as more of a marketing agency, a creative agency. And that experience was fruitful, but ultimately, I also felt like it was not the best fit for me because I would see companies, small businesses, doing marketing projects, but not marketing strategies. So they would commission a website because they felt like it was a good idea. Or they would make a video because they felt like it and thought it was a good idea. But how does it fit into what you want to get out of your marketing? And how do all the pieces fit together into a cohesive, comprehensive marketing strategy?
Right.
This is what I was seeing missing in the small business marketing world. And that's what got me excited, kind of back from when I was an engineer, of solving complex problems. It's just, in this case, it was solving the complex problem of how do you make a consistent, reliable, predictive, or productive marketing strategy.
And how have you enjoyed the role? Like, if there are other fractional CMOs listening to it, what are some cool things that you have liked and some challenging things?
I like helping. I like it a lot. And the things that I like about it are I get to work directly with CEOs and be a partner in decision making. Something from my history is, I feel like I'm a pretty good decision maker. I like taking a lot of disparate information, understanding it, and helping coalesce it into a decision that makes sense for the business. And that's really fun for me. And it's an honor to be able to get to work with CEOs on big issues and help them make decisions in an informed way. That really scratches an itch for me. And in terms of like the lifestyle of a fractional CMO, it's I like the freedom that comes with it. The individuality of it. I get to run my business how I want to. I get to work with the clients that I want to, and I like working with smart people in charge of fun companies, people that are doing interesting things in the marketplace. And so that's
Innovators,
a nice thing. Yeah. Yeah.
visionaries. That's really cool. And you get to have more impact than, I mean, I'm a creative too, but you get to have more impact in terms of the entire company. That's really cool.
I do feel like that. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Please, where can people find you? And also, if you want to share anything else with a person who is listening, someone who might be a business owner.
Sure. Yeah. I would say if anybody that wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, Jeremy Kanne with a K, and visit smartyeti.co if you want to check out a little bit more about Smart Yeti and as a company. What I would offer to any business owner that's listening to this is I am very happy to talk to anybody about their marketing issues and just educate. You can pick 30 minutes on my calendar, take my time, and I would really honestly love to hear what's been your pain point in marketing. And I'm happy to give you free advice. It's one of my personal goals in life is to just educate more on marketing, help people understand it, make it feel less like a black box of just marketing happens. It's a process. It's a machine. And when you understand it, you can make choices within that machine and make it yours. And that's really what I like to do.
If you enjoyed the show, hit the share button and send it over to one fellow marketer or entrepreneur. We work hard to make sure they'll thank you for it. Also, to get featured on the show, go to valuetising.com and apply to become our next guest. Until next time, keep valuetizing.